this is a prequel to a video I've got coming out, and I just wanted to clarify, hopefully, what I meant and why I was doing what I was doing. So in that video I say this.
So I've got a die in the holder, but I've got the holder back to front, ironically, because I want the face of the die against the face of the chuck, so it's nice and square.
So what I mean when I say back to front is I've got the die in the die holder back to front. So this picture here is what I would normally say is the front of the die holder, and you'd have the lettering on the die and the lead-in on this side. But as you can see in this picture, the die's in the other way round, so I've got the back end of the die. The only reason I've done that is so the lead-in is facing my lathe, and I can then butt the die directly up against the side of my chuck. So this is the other side of the die holder, and as you can see, the die is not held centrally in the die holder. So if I tried using the chuck against this side, it would be trying to push the die to one side on my part. So that's basically why I turned it around. The next thing you'll see me do is back the die off once I've started the thread, turn it around and then put it back on again.
Now, turn the die around for two reasons. A, on this, doing it this way, I can actually see when I butt up against the end. So what I was trying to say in the video about not being able to see was the fact that this die holder is a dual purpose design, and it's a cheapy Chinese thing, so it's not brilliant anyway. But obviously the design means that this side is stepped in a little bit, and obviously when you're trying to see down this angle, which you're trying to see there in the camera view, you can't quite see what's going on, where that side it's a lot easier to see the die. And B, this side's got a square shoulder on it. This side, the side with the writing on, is always the side you start with, and it's got a taper lead in. So if you're butting up against something, turn your die round. Now, the other part of what I was saying is normally the side with writing on tends to be the start side, and you can see there's a head of a lead in. So if you do that up to a stop, you've still got the lead in on the stop, or where you finish up.
You can see on the brass part here that the thread stops about 2 mil from the shoulder. And that's a prime example of the lead-in, and virtually all fixings and bolts have this lead-in. You might not notice it, but that taper you can see on the beginning of the die is the cause.
So what I do is turn the die round, because on this side all the teeth finish right at the tip. No leading at all. So if you turn the die round and run it up, you should be able to get the thread right up to your stop, or the head of the part, or the bolt you're making, or whatever.
Now this is a CAD drawn die that I knocked up just to show the point a bit better. And here's a cross section of that die, and you can clearly see that taper and the result of that tapered lead-in. Now if you reverse the die, you get a different scenario. Not all dies have a square end to them, but if you can reverse it, you can get the thread right up to the shoulder. So if you're doing a butt joint, or you're threading up very thin components, this is the way to do it. Now the only thing with doing this, of course, is that the thread does become a dead stop. So you could argue there is a stress riser there. If you were machining it in a lathe, of course, and you were using a die, a bit like I did, you could turn a relief at the base. You could also use this option to machine out the lead in as well, so you don't have to turn the tap round. The other thing to be aware of course, is the stress that you place on the die when you're turning it back to front. Now, I was only using brass, so there really was no huge amount of stress, but of course the harder your material, the more stress you're going to put on the back end of your die. So be aware of that. Hopefully you're all adults, so you can take your own responsibility. But there's a few options. If you do need to screw right up to the shoulder of your fixing or your nut. So in the next video that's coming out, you'll have a better idea of what I'm prattling on about. But these are the bits we made, and hopefully I'll see you in that video. Thanks for watching. Ta-da.